Hey everyone, I'm Gabriella, and today we're diving into something super close to my heart: 5 things I wish I knew when I started as an artist. Trust me, these are lessons you don't want to learn the hard way. Okay, first off, perfection is a trap. When I started, I spent hours trying to make every single line perfect. And guess what? I wasted so much time being frustrated instead of learning. When you're starting as an artist, the idea of creating perfect art can feel like a huge mountain you're trying to climb. But here's the thing: perfection doesn't exist in art, especially not when you're beginning. What does perfection even mean? Art isn't math, there's no correct answer. What's perfect to one person might look incomplete or chaotic to another. But when you're a beginner, it's easy to think that unless your work looks like the masterpieces you admire, you failed. In reality, those artists you look up to didn't start where they are now. They built their skills through years of messy, imperfect practice. The problem with chasing perfection is it stops you from starting. When you obsess over perfection, you'll hesitate to even pick up the brush or pencil. You'll think, what if it doesn't turn out right? This fear holds you back. It slows your growth. If you're too focused on getting everything perfect, you avoid experimenting or taking risks. The sooner you accept that imperfection is part of the process, the faster you'll improve. The perfect examples of imperfection is given by Bob Ross. Do you remember the happy accidents? Even one of the most iconic painters encouraged embracing mistakes. He turned smudges or unplanned strokes into new elements of his paintings. The second is invest in tools that matter, not the expensive stuff. Alright, let's talk about something I wish someone had drilled into my head when I was starting out. You do not need expensive art supplies to make great art. Trust me, your bank account will thank you, and your creativity will flourish. Let me explain why. When I was a beginner, I walked into an art store and thought, if I buy the fanciest supplies, my art will automatically look professional. Spoiler alert, it did. That 3000 bucks watercolor set, I barely used it because I was scared to ruin it. The thing is, expensive tools don't magically make you better. It's your skills and practice that do. When you're starting, you need tools that let you experiment, mess up, and learn without feeling guilty. A basic pencil, a cheap sketchbook, and maybe some student grade paints. These should be your best friends. Budget supplies are your secret weapon, and that's because more freedom to make mistakes. You're going to mess up, like a lot. Cheap supplies let you mess up guilt free. Think of them as your practice arena. Now, I'm not saying you'll stick to budget tools forever. Once you've practiced and figured out your unique style, then you can invest in quality supplies that work for you. For example, I learned I love working with acrylic paints, so I upgraded to these mid-range brushes after I knew how to handle them. But that took time. Now, here's what you really need to get started: a good pencil set. You don't need all 50 shades, just a basic HB and a couple of soft ones. A basic sketchbook, not fancy, just something to fill ideas. Student grade paints if you're into color, or even markers for quick doodles. Oh, yeah, an eraser, because you'll need that a lot. The third one is art blocks will happen, and that's okay. You know that feeling when you're staring at a blank page and your brain goes, oh my god, no. Yeah, that's an art block. I used to think it meant I wasn't meant to be an artist, but honestly, everyone goes through it. Alright, let's get real for a second. If you've picked up a brush and stared at it at a blank canvas feeling like your brain just forgot how to art, congratulations, you've experienced an art block. And let me tell you, it happens to everyone. First of all, let's define the monster. Art blocks can feel like this overwhelming sense of I have no idea what to paint. Or even worse, what if I never create something good again? Sounds familiar? Maybe you've got your paints ready, your brushes clean, and your canvas primed. But nothing. It's like your creativity just packed up and left for a vacation without you. Here's the thing, art blocks aren't the enemy, they're a signal. They're telling you to pause, breathe, and maybe look at things differently. Creativity isn't like a faucet you can just turn on and off. It's like a tide, it flows in and flows out. And sometimes it just needs a little time to cook back in. Art blocks can remind us that it's okay to not be productive 24/7. Think of them as a chance to reset and refocus. Okay, so you're stuck. What now? Change your medium. If you usually paint, try sketching. If you're into watercolors, grab some markers. A fresh tool can spark new ideas. Forget about making a masterpiece. Just let your hand move. Scribble, sketch, or even finger paint. It's all about having fun. Sometimes the best way to overcome an art block is to walk away. Go for a walk, listen to music, or even watch a movie. Inspiration often sneaks up on you when you're not looking for it. Maybe you'll see a technique or a color palette that sparks something new. Instead of I need to finish a painting today, say I'll sketch for 10 minutes. Tiny wins build momentum. Remember, it's not about forcing creativity, it's about gently inviting it back. I remember one time I hit a block so hard I didn't paint for weeks and months. Every time I sat down, I'd second guess every brush stroke. But instead of forcing it, I started sketching and tried my hands at digital painting. There were days I'd even replicate artworks to see if I could add my own style to it. One of those sketches ended up inspiring a piece that I'm actually proud of today. The point is, sometimes the way out of an art block is through play and not pressure. So if you and you're experiencing that's something like an art block right now, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're a bad artist. It just means you're human and your creativity needs a little time to reboot. The fourth one is comparing yourself is a shortcut to misery. Alright, let's talk about something that every artist or honestly every human struggles with, even me, and that's comparison. Now, we have all scrolled through Instagram or watched a time lapse of someone painting and thought, why can't I do that? Or I'll never be good as them. You're not alone. I've been there. I'm still there sometimes. But let me tell you, comparing yourself to others, it's a one-way ticket to misery town. Okay, so here's the deal. Comparison is natural. We are wired for it. Back in the caveman days, it probably helped us figure out who was good at hunting or gathering berries. But now, in the age of social media, it's like we're constantly bombarded with other people's highlight reels. It's like being at a party where everyone's showing off their best dance moves and you're standing in the corner thinking, wow, I can barely two-step. But here's the thing. No one's showing you the hours they spend tripping over their own feet. You're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle trap. Now, here's what worked for me. Instead of looking at someone else's art, look at your own older work. Compare it to where you are now. Social media is amazing for inspiration, but too much of it can mess with your head. Take breaks when you need to. Your mental health is more important than your feed. 1. Find inspiration and not competition. Instead of thinking, I'll never be good as them, ask, what can I learn from them? Maybe it's their color choices, their technique, or just their commitment to showing up every day. Focus on your own unique journey. You're not supposed to paint like anybody else. You're supposed to paint in your own style. Your quirks, your mistakes. They make your art yours. The last one is enjoy the creative process and not just the result. How many of us, when we start a project, are already dreaming about how amazing the final piece is going to look? I'm guilty of this too. But here's the thing. If you're only chasing the end result, you're missing out on the best part, the process. Let's talk about why enjoying the creative process is so important and how it can completely change your art journey. It's easy to get caught up in the outcome. We live in a world that lives to celebrate the finished product. You post your artwork, people like it, comment on it, and bam, you feel validated. But here's the problem: if your focus is only on the result, what happens when it doesn't turn out the way you imagined? You feel frustrated, maybe even like you failed. And the process is where you connect with your art. It's where you get to express yourself, experiment, and let's be honest, make a glorious mess. Now, how do you really enjoy the process? You set a mood. Put on some music, light a candle, or grab your favorite drink. Make the process feel like a little ritual. You could also take some breaks to reflect. Step back and look at what you're creating, not to judge it, but to appreciate it. Here's a thought: when you're flipping through your old sketchbooks, do you only look at the completed drawings? Or do you smile at the doodles, the unfinished ideas, the pages where you were just exploring? That's the process. That's where the real joy is. Alright, friends, we've covered a lot today, haven't we? From embracing the imperfection of starting out to handling art blocks, learning not to compare yourself, and investing wisely in tools that matter. It's a lot to think about, but it's all part of the journey. Here's the thing: being an artist is about more than just the finished product. It's about growth, exploration, and sometimes making peace with the messy parts of the process. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep going.